Buenos dias. Ambassador Whitaker mentioned the Super Bowl. It's a uniquely American experience, and after the last Sunday's bowl, it may remain a uniquely American experience. But he also referenced avocados, and on the Super Bowl Sunday, more guacamole is eaten in the United States than any other day of the year. So please bring your avocados to the United States. Ambassador Whitaker apologized for being late, but he has no reason to apologize. He's been one of the finest diplomats serving our country here in Colombia for the past 5 years. So congratulations for the work you've been doing on behalf of this relationship. Minister Restrepo, you gave a very comprehensive talk. You covered a lot of topics. I hope that when the President comes to Washington next week, you join him and we get a chance to have a little exchange in some of those areas. I believe as we do our work, our bidding on behalf of the U.S.-Colombia relationship, that we can expand not only exports but investment both ways, but we need to work at it. The road ahead is never going to be an easy one, but it's a worthwhile one to pursue, and we want to pursue stronger relations with Colombia at a point in time where there is not only an opportunity because of the transition here, but frankly a necessity to strengthen our ties. Maria Claudia, the AmCham is a great partner of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Many of you who don't know the Chamber of Commerce will know one thing. We have a strong American chamber here operating not only on behalf of American companies, but fostering ties and supporting Colombian businesses as well. So congratulations to Maria Claudia and the entire AmCham. And of course, Bruce McMaster, President of ANTI, is our partner on many levels, including with respect to the U.S.-Colombia Business Council that is now housed at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And Bruce has been through thick and thin with us over the last several years, strengthening our relationship, holding us honest in our engagements, and I appreciate you being here and look forward to your comments a little bit later. Dan Restrepo, you've done a great job when you served for the Obama administration. I'm glad to see you here in Colombia. Continue the good work on behalf of the two countries. I want to recognize also two individuals who haven't been recognized yet on my staff. Neil and Kendra, would you please just stand up for a second? Neil is the head of the Americas program at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. So everything we do well here, he gets credit for. Everything we do badly, I should get blamed for. And Kendra is responsible for the work we do here in Colombia, is the executive director of the U.S.-Colombia Business Council. Please track her down if you want to get more engaged with the work we do in Washington, in the United States, and of course here in Colombia with our partners, AmCham Colombia and Andy. I have been asked to really set the stage on the view of Washington. Your president will be in our country next week. We'll have the great opportunity to host him at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce next Thursday, I believe. Maria Claudia will be there. The AmCham will be represented. Here's what I think the president will see. Here's what all of you are aware of. And in many ways, the agenda that we face in our country is not dissimilar to the agenda you face in Colombia. What is the priorities for the American business community? One, we want to strengthen our infrastructure. We want to invest in our infrastructure. We have $1.5 trillion worth of investment we need to make. Any of you who have traveled to our airports, been on our roads, and have been in the United States know that we need to uplift. And I just came back from China just 10 days ago, and I contrast what's going on in places like Shanghai and Beijing, and I look at the rail and the road, and I say, why are we acting like we're in the early 20th century with the United States? We need to invest in infrastructure. And despite challenges in Washington, which I will talk forthfully about, I do believe that there's an opportunity for Democrats and Republicans to work together with the President of the United States and the business community to get infrastructure done. Same thing has to be done here in Colombia. The President has to work closely with the legislature and with the business community to promote further infrastructure development in this country. The second area that Maria Claudia and others touched upon is workforce development and education. Huge priority for any country. If you're going to innovate, you have to invest in your education. Not just secondary education, but K through 12 education. And you need to invest in your workforce. And we need to do the same in the United States as Colombians need to do here. This is a top priority of the business community. You want to keep talented people, you need to develop talented people. We have a desire to have more engineers in our country. We need to encourage that in our school systems. So this workforce development is a second area of priority. Immigration reform is a third area. I heard the ambassador, I heard others talk about Venezuela, the 1 million people that have come over into this country from Venezuela. Certainly a crisis in Venezuela, but an opportunity here in Colombia. How do you absorb that migration? How do you make sure that migration is successful for the economy here in Colombia? Similarly, we have a desire to have comprehensive immigration reform. Now, everyone following the news in the United States knows that we just had a shutdown. We're facing the prospects of another government shutdown, which is quite unfortunate. We would encourage both sides to work closely together to resolve the outstanding issues. But in this mess is an opportunity for us to do something right. Our country is a nation of immigrants, and we need to think about what that means as we develop our immigration policies. And we need to be comprehensive, not just looking at H-1B visas, but thinking about the dreamers, the people who have been in our country for a while. We need to make sure we take care of them, and we need to make sure that we remain an open society. That is the third priority. The fourth is to continue the good work that the President of the United States and his team has done on tax reform and regulation. There's more work to be done, particularly in the regulatory field. Similarly, I believe that in Colombia, you have similar obligations and challenges. I'm well aware of the debates that have gone on in this country around tax policy, and I'm also aware of the desire of the government to focus on regulatory changes that will improve the competitiveness of Colombia. We encourage that. We need to encourage that also in the United States. And the U.S. Chamber, as the largest business voice in the United States, is very much working with the agencies and with the Congress to improve the regulatory environment in our country. And I would say over the last few years, a lot has been done in a positive direction, which is why you see our growth rates running pretty high. Last year, over 3%. This year, potentially 2.5%, 2.6% if we do the right things. The most difficult area, I would argue, other than immigration, is trade. As Charles Dickens said, this is the best and worst times. And what I mean by that is that we have an opportunity, given the revolution in technology, the fourth industrial revolution, the advancement in robotics, in many other areas, sciences, life sciences, and health, to really connect this world in transformational ways. But there is rising populism, there is rising nationalism that exists around the world. And we need to make sure that we address the underlying tensions that exist in this. And whether it's in South America or in Asia or in North America or in other parts of the world, this is a growing concern of everyone in this room. It will impact the welfare of the people that we all represent and we work with, but it will also impact the ability of economies to grow and prosper. And so one of the most important things we can do is ensure that we pursue open policies, fair and free trade, as Ambassador Whitaker says, but to do so means that we have to have a little give and take. And here we are in a very complex time in Washington and in the United States. As I said, I came back from China just 10 days ago. This is a very complex time in the U.S.-China relationship. Everyone who is watching knows the stakes not just for China and the United States, but for the global economy. China's GDP growth rates is down from where it's been. The official numbers are 6.6%. I would say it's more likely 5.8, 5.9%. GDP growth rates are slowing in China. Some of that is because of domestic consumption and investment, and some of that is the uncertainty in the markets and trade relations. In the context of the United States, our economy is relatively strong, but trade plays a role in how strong our economy will be in the years ahead, including 2019. We need to make sure not only are the markets settling, but that we find common ground in areas of trade with countries like China, like Europe, like South America, and many countries here, as well as elsewhere. We have opportunities. I think that the chances of a trade deal between China and the United States remain high. There are serious issues being discussed. There are serious, legitimate issues being raised by the Trump administration when it comes to China's industrial policies, which I won't go into depth about, and how China is not level when it comes to U.S. and, frankly, foreign investment in its market. How does it treat data? How does it treat, frankly, technology? How does it treat intellectual property rights? These are fundamental issues being discussed in the context of the U.S.-China discussions, and they're not unique concerns of American business. Similarly, we have an outstanding issue called the U.S.-Mexico Free Trade Agreement. This is also very important. The North America Free Trade Agreement is fundamental to our three economies, to Mexico, Canada, and the United States. But it's also fundamental to anyone doing business in our country, given the complex supply chains that exist. Any disruption of the North America Free Trade Agreement would hurt our economy terribly. We have since seen the Trump administration go out and negotiate a deal with Mexico and Canada. Some aspects of the deal are very good. Some are puzzling, and frankly, some we have opposed. At the end of the day, we will support, and we have announced our public support for the USMCA. But there are roadblocks ahead. There are still outstanding issues around steel and aluminum tariffs. These are important issues to be resolved with Mexico and Canada ahead of any potential vote in the U.S. Congress. And as everyone knows, in November of last year, the U.S. House of Representatives switched hands. And the House is now in the hands of Democrats. And there'll be no easy votes on trade as a result. So we have some work to do to get USMCA passed. Why is this important? Because this is a seminal trade agreement that has the attention of this hemisphere. Additionally, we have other opportunities with Japan, with Europe, and other countries that we need to continue to promote. But we also need to remember those trading partners that we have existing trade agreements with, Colombia being one of the most important trading partners. We cannot take for granted the free trade agreement that we negotiated. We need to continue to build life into it. This is something that the minister spoke to forcefully. We need to make sure that we continue to invest in our bilateral relationship. And I'm not sure at this stage whether we want to open up the free trade agreement, but I am sure that we want to continue to find ways to strengthen the underlying fabric of the free trade agreement by continuing to promote trade and investment between our two countries, whether it be in the ICT field or whether it be in life sciences, whether it be around infrastructure investment. Certainly, continued engagement around regulatory issues is important. There are many areas that the American Chamber, ANDI, the U.S. Chamber through the U.S. Colombia Business Council is engaged in and will continue to be advocates for. More broadly, we want to support business ties between our two countries that will foster not only prosperity for the businesses, but for the two peoples of our countries. And I would say that we have that opportunity before us. We have a very, I think, interested, invested president in the United States, in President Duque, and I think you have a reciprocal partner in President Trump in wanting to find ways to strengthen this bilateral relationship. And I hope everyone here today is committed to that. What else is going on in this region, though, also matters. Venezuela is a complex set of circumstances, not easily solved overnight. What happens next door to your country matters, obviously, to this country, to Brazil, to everyone in this region. What you have seen is a unified international response, whether it's from the Lima Group or whether it's from Europe and certainly from the United States. And I hope that for the people of Venezuela, that things settle down quicker than perhaps we anticipate. But for this country, it's important that they do. In addition, we have other challenges. We have significant changes politically across this region. I'm heading to Brazil this week. We have a new government in Bolsonaro. We'll see what happens there. We have a new government in Mexico with AMLO. We have new potential governments in other parts of South America. How does Colombia engage not only in the Pacific Alliance, but with these partners on the Atlantic Ocean? How does it engage with Brazil and Argentina going forward? And how does this architecture develop to be competitive going forward? And how does it develop in, I hope, concert and collaboration with the United States? So there are many areas that we are focused on as a country, as a business community, and as the U.S. Chamber. The one thing I want to leave a message here today is that South America matters, and Colombia is pivotal to South America, and Colombia is pivotal to America. And we need to continue to double down and engage in our collective future. With that, thank you very much. Look forward to the rest of the comments today.